ladies and gentlemen, give him a warm welcome. He's got out of bed, he's in the dome, and he's wide awake, bushy-tailed and starry-eyed. Welcome, Lawrence.
Thank you for your patience on getting some technical things set up. I had to charge my computer, and I have a love-hate relationship with technology. But technology is what's brought us all here, because without it, we wouldn't be able to see the visuals we're about to see, and some of these amazing visuals, like the time-lapse earlier, with live action. Years ago, well, just to give you a bit of my background's in psychology and anthropology, and when I was studying, I was in graduate school studying cognition and consciousness, which led me into a childhood passion of dolphins. What we know now in the last 20 years is that dolphins are highly intelligent, they're highly social, they have a sense of awareness of self and a sense of consciousness. Now, I may bore some people that I've been talking with throughout the week about this because I'm so passionate about it. I may not be showing it because it's early in the morning for me. But when we think about our self-consciousness and our collective consciousness, we've derived philosophy, religion. Now, I can't say that dolphins and whales have a religion, but they have a consciousness. And from that concept and my passion of photography and Unterwasser photography, I'm getting better, has been born this concept that really has been waiting for technology to get there. Live action underwater with dolphins and whales. So earlier in the week, we showed a clip that Mickey and Andre and I had been working on echolocation. Dolphins didn't evolve an opposable thumb like primates did. But what they did do is evolve the use of frequency, sound, liquid sound. So they use the term copyright infringement. But it's such a fascinating world. I have been extremely fortunate to be able to spend almost 20 years Unterwasser with dolphins and whales. And what have we learned from that? Obviously the consciousness, but the interesting behavior. Fulldome is so different than any other genre. I am so excited to be a part of this and part of this amazing community of Fulldome artists and scientists and creatives. And so last year was my first effort using the Red Epic 5K camera and a specialized underwater housing, and of course a particular lens. I have two different configurations that I can kind of go into, and if people want to know more of the technical side of things, then I can give you a little bit more on how I was able to obtain some of these images. Now, the images that we have here are not going to be in full resolution. We're kind of running that off of the laptop, but it gives you an idea of what it will become and what it is. And again, this isn't in full resolution, but this was something I actually just came back from the Bahamas. I was there for 3.5 weeks filming the wild Atlantic spotted dolphins. And I've been traveling to this place and also another area, and they're unique in all the world because they're the only known place where dolphins seek people out. Now again, they're highly social and they have their own society, so they do their own things during the day. You don't always see them. Thankfully, it's not SeaWorld, and Shamu doesn't show up at 8. This is, again, the wild. So there are some dynamics with natural history filmmaking and the time that you have to spend out there. And of course, the challenges of gear not necessarily working as you want it to, as many of the photographers here in the room probably understand that. And so this is really kind of atmospheric stuff with the surface. It was a beautiful cloud spotted day, and I'm literally just sort of sinking past the surface of the water down into depths. And actually, this is the first time I've seen this on the dome. There's something very special about this ice planetarium, because this is the place that I've only seen my footage in the beautiful dome. And it may be a little dark, and that's my apologies on that. But there's this wonderful thing that happens underwater with display of water and light, and we're going from one atmosphere to the other. And some people had asked me the other day, really about, what do dolphins think of us when we enter their realm? And we can speculate in a lot of different ways, but when we think about it, it would maybe be like an alien species coming from the cosmos to planet Earth. What I do know, interacting with dolphins and getting eye contact with them, I often leave my camera on board the boat just so I can have that shared experience with them. And when you look into their eyes, it's like looking into our own eyes. They're persons. There's something that is shared in terms of the fascination, the curiosity, the intelligence. And this is really what the project is trying to relay, the comparison of our consciousness and theirs. And that's really what the concept of CETACEA is. They live in an acoustic aquatic world, and again, they didn't involve opposable thumbs, but they used frequencies to not only see their world, but communicate with an individual next to them, simultaneously with 1 mile away. And so as we sort of, I think that's probably lagging a bit, but you sort of get the idea. And I do cheat a little bit when I'm with dolphins. I often free dive, which is on a single breath of air. But in order to stay down and maintain a fixed position, I'll be on a scuba tank. And normally you wouldn't want to see your scuba bubbles in a frame. In a traditional documentary, you don't want to cut that illusion of, the separation of cameraman and audience. But in this situation, it actually kind of works. Because we're all mammals, we're air breathers. And we're entering a different realm. Is that too dark for everybody?
No, it's fine.
There's the sun in my eye. Now there's challenges, as everyone knows, with the sun always being in the frame. Clouds are my friend now, whereas before they weren't. I wanted daytime, midday light in order to reach the depth of which I typically film. I don't really bring in, certainly not with whales and dolphins, I don't bring in auxiliary lights because it looks artificial. Plus, I don't want to blind them. Their vision is equally as good as ours above water. But they, of course, use sound to see as well. It's an extra sensory. So it is lower resolution. Again, I'm shooting with the Red Epic camera, which I'm also shooting in off frames for those technical people. I'm shooting almost 100 frames a second, which gives it a very nice fluid appearance. And then, of course, there's a crop factor. I will tell one of my secrets. I have two different methods to which I film specifically for Fulldome. A single camera setup and then dual camera setups. The single camera is actually using the SunX lens. So it's a full frame, or not full frame, it's a cropped frame, but it's in the full sensor. So it really converts to maybe 3500 resolution. And of course, depending on the projection system and up conversions, it looks quite good.
What resolution is this?
This is probably about 3500 resolution.
Right now?
Yes. I will upgrade to the Dragon sensor, which is a 6K, 6,000 lines of resolution. For those that don't know some of these technical terms, high definition starts at 720 lines of resolution. Most people, if they have a high definition TV, it's 1080. Well, this is ultra high definition. It's almost equivalent to IMAX film, 70 millimeter celluloid. Now, this is the first time I'm seeing this as well. The beautiful thing about the behavior of dolphins and Fulldome is that you can let the scene live. The dolphins are fascinated with me. I think it's mostly because of my camera and the dome lens, but they can tell that I have something mechanical with me. Also, I've been working with these dolphins for quite a long time, and I think they kind of do recognize me because I'm sort of this, unstable marine mammal under the water with this big metal thing and glass. But they will, in traditional documentaries, you want to cut for sequence. So you wait for something to go out of frame and you stop record, and then you set your shot up and you record, and once it goes out of frame, and so on and so on. But with Fulldome, it's the beauty of allowing the action and the behavior to happen for extended periods. So they'll often come to me interact with me in some ways. And again, this is slow motion, so in reality, they're going quite fast around me. Now, this species that we see is a bottlenose dolphin, Terciops trinicatus, for the scientists out there. And then the other species is Atlantic spotted dolphins, which are a little smaller, far more friendly. The bottlenose dolphins have this this sort of energy of, I kind of call them the bruisers. They're more deep water, particularly at night, and they mean business. There's often, we observe interspecies battles where the bottlenose dolphins will go into the pod of spotted dolphins and rough them up, and there's almost like a territory war. And of course, this can be a little tweaked on things. But as I've been starting to do this over the last year, I've actually been working professionally since '98, but shooting Fulldome just for this last year. So a lot of it is testing. No one is doing this with large marine mammals underwater for the dome. So it's exciting to be the first, but it's also that part of that trial and error. But I'm more than happy to share what I learned in order to raise the bar. I'm not a competitive cinematographer. I think that it's all about sharing. And again, the Fulldome community is so wonderful with being a support system and sharing of information. Because at the end of the day, we really want to showcase how best original content in Fulldome can be. So there is a bit of trial and error on things. One of the ideas that I had is to bring the planetarium world into the underwater world. And back in the 70s, Carl Sagan headed a project with the Voyager space probes, and they brought a gold disc that had all of a lot of the recordings from Earth and greetings in different languages. And I really like that idea, maybe for an auxiliary piece to show that humpback whale songs are now off out of the universe, out of our galaxy. Mickey, I believe we've done it. I don't know about you guys, but I can watch more of that. Selfishly, I don't know. Again, I am so fortunate to be able to make a career and a living out of my passion. And much of this is I think everybody knows is involved in this industry. It's about passion that drives us. One of my missions has always been, because I'm so fortunate to be able to have these opportunities with whales and dolphins, how can I share that? Sometimes when you just relay it verbally, it's ineffable. You can't put words into these experiences. To be among the kingdom of the dolphins, in a pod of dolphins, having that experience in real life is what my mission is. I want to bring that to people. I want people to see the beauty of nature in the underwater world, the beauty of the connections with cetacea. And I think we're getting there. There's a lot of testing to do, and for this project, there are other species that I'm endeavoring to film. Humpback whales in the South Pacific. The male humpback whales are the ones that sing these beautiful arias. This is passing of information from one generation to the next. This is the definition of culture. Again, these are components of which define cetacea. How do we define ourselves as humans, Homo sapiens, tool users? Jane Goodall sort of blew that out of the water, if we have the term, because she observed chimpanzees using tools. So now we're at a time where we're seeing and learning more about these species, these aquatic cousins of ours. And we may have to redefine what it is to be human and what it is to share the planet. I spent a lot of time, and have spent a lot of time, on conservation work, with the dolphin drive hunts in Japan, some of the very ugly things that humanity does. And another part of my mission is we need to remind people why we care. And in order to care about ourselves and where our destiny is, because we manifest our destiny, we can find that there's infinite possibilities by learning what dolphins and whales are doing and how they live, and respecting that. And living together on this planet. Again, this format is, I don't want to get emotional, but this is the delivery for being in an environment that most people won't ever be able to get to. So I'm extremely grateful for everybody for giving me their time, dealing with technical kind of problems. It's sort of the nature of the beast. But allowing me to be a voice for something bigger than myself. This is CETACEA, coming soon. Now it's karaoke, so any requests? If anybody has any questions that I'm happy to answer, I don't know if we're running late on time.
So, great. Where are you when you're shooting those images? Are you hiding under the sandbar or anything? Where are you with the camera?
Good question, obvious kind of thing. I'm among the dolphins. Again, I will typically, if I'm shooting non-full dome, I'll be free diving, because these are air-breathing mammals, and they spend a lot of time close to the surface. So on a single breath of air, we'll dive down and get the shots that are required for whatever the project is. With full dome, I'm on scuba, and I prefer, because we're dealing with this contrast of light at the surface and darkness and trying to work out those kind of details, I'll be maybe, with the dolphins, maximum of 45 feet, which is 18 meters, something like that. Because I want to be able to be in a position. And also with the dome, there's beautiful things you can do with certain rotations. I also have it's a military-grade propulsion scooter that's attached to my tank that I just recently got in order to do these tracking shots. We see some of the beautiful work that other people are doing on terrestrial, on the land, and these great crane shots or tracking shots or traveling things. Well, in the underwater world, I have all these dimensions to move in, so I want to maximize that. So I use a scooter, I'm at a certain depth. It's dangerous for being on underwater breathing apparatus to go to the surface, go down, we call that bouncing. Those, who all are scuba divers here, anyway? Then you know that you're building up nitrogen in your system by breathing compressed air at depth. Now, if you keep on going to the surface and down, then you're risking, there's some dangers there. I am a diver, a safe diver first, and then cinematographer. So I don't put myself or the animals or other people at risk. But usually I stay in a fixed position and allow the action to happen around me. But the beauty of the dome, and one thing that was frustrating when you're dealing with the restrictions of the frame, is that they're still around you, but they're only here. But with the dome, you get the behavior. You let them come and experience what's going on with me, and then they go out and talk with their other pod mates, and then they come back. And so one of my missions also is to allow the audience to see the beauty of their behavior and their interaction between me vis-a-vis the audience, or the other way around, and then their other dolphin podmates. So it's a long answer. I don't know if anything answered it. Yes. Sure. Yes.
It's a little bit more of a technical question.
Okay.
So, how do you compensate for the cropping of the camera? Do you do that with your millimeter, with your lens? Or
Just how you compensate for the cropping of the camera with millimeter lens, because you have to crop into.
It goes to, she asked about the cropping of the camera, and I may not know the answer for it, but it's the particular lens that I'm using in that configuration is a Sunex lens. It's a 185-degree lens, 8mm, I think it is. So it fits right within the frame. When I do get the red Dragon 6K, then I'll be able to push in a little bit without losing resolution. So that's the magic of these guys back here that are doing it. I'm just the monkey that likes to get wet with the camera. So, but what I found the most important thing about the lenses, and of course you're dealing with the dome as well, which doesn't work as an optic necessarily, but there is a lessening of some resolution, and there can be some aberrations around there. I've found no problem with what the Sunex is doing. Some people have said you should use the Canon, whatever that 8mm to 10 is, but there's cropping there. And so you have to push in more and then you lose the resolution. I'm fine with losing the pixels on either side of the circular
so
frame.
you get the circle with the
Absolutely.
lens.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll show you, if you have time, I'll show you later some still frame grabs and some of the basic raw footage so you can see where it is. So it fits perfectly on there, which I'm very, very pleased about. Yes?
So how are you compensating for changes in brightness? Is that in post-production?
It really is in post-production because Sunex doesn't have an aperture, so I'm limited in my creative tools as a cinematographer. It really is about chasing light. The principles of cinematography certainly come into play underwater. What I would have normally done, as I mentioned earlier, is I would film at high noon to get the shafts of light, to get everything illuminated. And that's an old thought process. But with the dome, you break the frame. And late afternoon is actually preferred. I like the ethereal look anyway, aesthetically. And then, again, with particularly dolphins, they're not stationary, and they're all over the place. But then again, I don't want to follow them like that, because that's just going to make the audience sick. But yes, post-production, I'm of the school of thought of shoot it right the first time. So to create that dialogue with the post team is absolutely crucial. And then having the luxury of having a dome and say, okay, this works, this doesn't work. Going out on an underwater expedition is extremely expensive. So if you don't have all of your ducks in a row, then you see, oh, it didn't work. Well, do you go back? Another.
So you don't have any way to do rushes every day, really?
Not on a dome.
Yeah.
No, and that's a challenge. Actually, I saw some people that have that new beta software that have that little small dome. I may try and copy that idea just so I can get an idea. What I have done on my viewfinder is given myself, which I now in my mind know where the sweet spots are. So I know that, okay, and again, I've worked with dolphins so long that I can almost anticipate what their behavior is. Crater feeding is a behavior that I finally got. So it's basically the dolphins go down into the sand. Go down into the sand and dig. They use that location to find fish. And so I know that whenever I'm there, I slowly, they're fully aware of me before I even can see them. And so I know where that framing will be. I now have realized that being at depth eliminates that mass contrast shift.
Question.
Yes?
Time-lapse photography underwater? Are you able to try time-lapse photography underwater? And second thing is night filming with artificial light.
I think this gentleman's going to teach me time-lapse, even though I apologize for showing up late. But it's a great tool to use. Time-lapse would work with starfish crawling on a reef. There are, like with reef fish, the time lapse that I've seen underwater, they're darting around, and you can have blurring with that lower resolution. There's certain subjects that would work really well with it. This summer, I will be doing some tests on that, but mostly with the 5D Mark II. I have an underwater tripod system, and then just let the camera live. And in terms of nighttime, with Full Dome, I'm now having to reconfigure everything. Again, the frame has been exploded. And so I'm doing a sort of a circular lighting system with several of these LED lights in order to bathe like a reef, because I want to start shooting a variety of different things, not just CETACEA, although that's the current project. What I am going to be doing, and I've been doing for many years, is nighttime with the dolphins, where we put lights abeam of the ship, and it brings up the squid, and the dolphins show up. And it's absolutely ethereal. It's going to work so well in the dome. I hate to talk about something that I'm not going to actually be able to give you a sample of, but they come into the light from this inky darkness. And the lights are fixed, so it's something that I feel comfortable introducing into their world. Again, I'm very cognizant of not being, I'm a participant observer, but I don't want to be someone that alters their behavior by my presence or by the auxiliary lights I have. But those are the shots that I didn't get this last trip, just a few weeks ago, but I will be returning in July for a week, and I'm going to focus exclusively on nighttime.
Last question, please.
There's a water transparency, how it obstructs the filming at a different time, water transparency.
Did everyone hear that in terms of the transparency or the density of like particulate in the water? What I'm starting to discover is that murky water actually works pretty good. And with these high-end video cameras and the sensors, you can get a lot of the detail out of there that you could not do with film. Some of my new shots, I don't think I showed anything, was really kind of milky water. We had really bad weather days, and so the water density was a whole different sort of viscosity, and it had a nice little ethereal look. Now, of course, I want very clear water, and I want those beautiful sunbeams to come down. But that's a testing. So it's an aesthetic choice. But again, this is the wild, and you don't know what you're going to get.
Okay, thank you, Lawrance Curtis.